day, everybody. It is Calxiyn and Hunter here, and today we are going to be talking about Neo. Again, like, I understand. I know we made a video about what happened to Neo last week, but, like, we need to reevaluate. We have gotten new information, and I have gotten visions, and I have seen the prophecy, okay? I
love how you, like, in this video, we're talking about what happens to Neo. You talk about Neo in videos not related to
not
Neo.
About Neo. We did make a video outlining our options. However, I have whole new options now. New options that we never had before. And it's like, I both think this is going to happen. I am genuinely 100% convinced that I'm right, but I also need this to happen. Like, I need it to happen, so it needs to happen because I need it to. I had a dream that Neo would become the tree and be some sort of, like, sidekick to the blacksmith, like, a couple weeks ago or last week. However, seeing Ruby in the tree casing sort of got me thinking, and I was like, oh, I know what the perfect ending to Neo's arc is going to be, okay? So come with me, Hunter, all right?
On an adventure.
Exactly, come with me.
Through my own obsessions.
Because I got the perfect ending for Neo's arc. Man. Again, I don't know if it's going to happen, but, like, I need it to happen. We all need it to happen. And I think this would be so poetic and so thematic. Team Ruby and John are fighting the cat, as we have seen. Ruby breaks out of the wooden shell when Team Ruby, like the rest of them, are kind of getting their ass beat. Like, they're not doing
the song from Shrek 2, I'm holding out for a hero, is playing in the background.
So Ruby finally gets out of the casing.
Coming out of her cage.
I don't know exactly how this is going to go down. I think in the past it could have been more like, Neo, you have to fight. Like, it could have been optimistic. I don't think Ruby's like that anymore. So instead, how I see this happening is that Ruby and Neo have, like, one kind of final rematch situation, right? Where Ruby is like, is this really what you've become? Like, what if Torchwick saw how pathetic you are? Like, you know what I mean? Like, kind of being mean to her in the same way that Neo was being mean, like, with the clones, right? And so Ruby has all this, like, oh, if Roman could see you now, he would think that you're pathetic for giving up your control to this cat. Like, do you really have no other purpose beyond him? Like, just those sort of snarky dialogue lines. Come on, Neo, I thought you were stronger than this, or was I wrong? You know, like,
you're
just
trying to, like, nag Neo into, like, exercising curious cat from her body.
And so Ruby's, like, strategy here is to make Neo angry. Like, give Neo a reason, okay? Like, give Neo a reason to fight back, okay?
I just imagine one where she was just, I don't know if I should say this, Neo or Ruby would be like, Neo, I always knew you were a pussy, but this is taken it to a whole different level.
I don't know if they can say that in the show, but
they couldn't.
That is funny.
But it would be good.
It would be funny. Okay, so that in mind, I also have this idea that, like, Neo will have this, like, Persona 5, like, talk with herself, like, with Trivia or, like, Roman, probably Roman because we already have his model, like, this sort of other self. Like, you gotta fight back, like, you gotta, like, become free, you know? And, like, Neo's kind of, like, defeatist, but it's also the Roman in her head as much as it is the Ruby on the outside, okay? And I'm not sure exactly how this is gonna happen. Some people have multiple different ideas. First of all, I like this idea better, but I like the idea that an illusion of Neo appears on its own, kind of like how Pyrrha appeared on her own last episode, right? Like, Pyrrha did the slash to Jean and everything. So a clone of Neo appears with the parasol, because right now Neo isn't fighting with her parasol, people have noticed, and she sticks the parasol into herself. And that's, like, the final blow. So Neo lands the final blow on herself to kill herself and effectively chase the cat out of her body. And maybe Jean would try to heal her, but, like, that's a whole other sort of story, right? Basically, the idea is that it's a win for Team Ruby, it's a win for Neo, and it's a loss for the cat, because now the cat has to vacate house. Neo has fought for her freedom back, and then Team Ruby.
That would be the second time a Ruby villain has stabbed themselves in the chest with a sword.
Who?
Which is...
Who's the first one?
Salem.
But she didn't die.
She didn't die, but she did stab herself in the sword.
The idea would be that Neo's, like, she regains control, and so she chooses how to free herself. The second option is that Neo calls back the Jabberwockers, and because the cat is so afraid of being eaten, the cat vacates, like, Neo's body, right? But the Jabberwockers don't eat Neo. Or, alternatively, they could kill Neo like kind of like a symbolic callback to Roman being eaten by the griffin, but because the Jabberwockers are not real, they don't actually stop someone from ascending. They are basically glorified like puppets, right?
Unless that was the real Jabberwocker, but that would be kind of Jabberwocker ex machina.
I'm saying like that she makes manifestations of the Jabberwocker that freak out the cat vacates Neo's body, and like maybe she would die in the process. The point is that Neo dies somehow, but she doesn't die in a way that prevents ascension.
Yes.
She just dies.
And she dies in a way potentially that could help them beat Curious
It's a
Cat.
very temporary truce kind of situation, right? And I like the idea of her stabbing herself with her parasol just because, like, I feel like that has thematic implications, especially because right now the cat's not using it. So it's the idea that, like, the illusion, even though it's fake, is the real Neo, right? Like, that is the real Neo trying to fight back. And the parasols in the book is a representation of her freedom. So using the parasol in order to do that makes some sense to me. Some people have also speculated she can manifest Roman, like a clone of Roman, to do it, which I think is also fine because Roman also represents her freedom, so that's good. Like the Jabberwocker thing, it's not my favorite idea, but I could see it because they planted this whole idea that the cat, even the cat's afraid of the Jabberwocker, right? So bringing it back and having Neo like die that way, but then what we would get, the last like shots that we would see of Neo, not of like the episode, but like we would see Neo and she's in like the wooden casing of the tree. And like maybe we would see her in the void situation, like however Ruby's gonna be with Summer, we think, right, this episode. And so Roman's like, so what do you want to be, right? And it kind of like end, like button, you know,
Yes.
like that's it. And so that is the end to Neo's character arc, is this idea that despite like we think, oh no, like the Jabberwockers ate her, that means she's dead for good. But then we see her in the wooden casing of the tree and we know that like the Jabberwockers, like they weren't the real ones, so it didn't affect her. And we have that sort of end note of like, we think Neo's dead and everyone's sad. The audience, not Team RWBY, right? But
Team RWBYs are like, yeah, she was gonna die somehow.
In the wooden case of the tree, and then it's like, okay, well, what she becomes next, that'll depend on her. And I think that that would be so good. Like, I feel like that would be so good for the themes, because then to the audience, well, Neo could be whoever you want to be. And I feel like that that's very interesting, especially just for like Neo as a character. It's
her
left
whole
up to
thing
your
is-
imagination.
And they hammer that home in the scene where Roman
Always
talking
wanted
to Neo
a
is
place
like,
to get away from.
yeah, you always wanted to a place. I was that in Remnant. This is here now. But also, it's like, well, you did it. You killed RWBY. Now what?
Yeah,
This can't
and
be
so I
it,
feel
right?
like
So,
Neo
like, her thing-
going
yeah.
to the tree and finding this new purpose,
And-
but we
and
never
that's-
quite
yeah.
know like what she decided or what she settled on. And I like the open-endedness of that, because then I think that
And
has
that-
some catharsis for the people that don't like Neo,
Sure,
right? But
yeah.
also the people that do like Neo, because it's
Do
about
like
whatever you think
It's an
happened
open-ended.
to her.
Yes.
And I feel like that inspires creativity and
Yeah.
joy. Neo
sparks
dying
joy.
does not spark joy, right?
And it works with her whole character arc, not even within the season, but since Volume 3, where it's like, oh, it's Roman's lackey. She does everything for Roman, then Roman dies, and then she chases the people she thinks is responsible for his death
Yeah.
across the globe. So it's a fitting end to that, what happens when you let sort of obsession and living in the
Yeah.
past take over your life.
But, like, I think the difference will be, kind of like I explained, is that Neo will learn, whereas other characters didn't necessarily learn. This is a better ending than just Neo dying, because, like, yeah, people have talked about, oh, but, you know, it could be a tragedy, and this is what happens when you do the revenge, but, like, we already got that with Adam, and so now this idea that, like, in the last moment, even though Neo wasn't good, she made, like, a choice that ended up being good. You know what I mean? Like, she worked with Team RWBY to kill the cat in whatever capacity. And so now, even though she's like a bad person, she does get to choose. Because redemption isn't necessarily about what you did in the past, but it's making the right choices going forward as well. And so I kind of like that open-endedness. And I like the idea that Neo won't permanently die. I think that is what we need in our life, is the idea that
Yes.
no, Neo did not permanently die, is that she did go to the tree, and that would bring a lot of closure. And then it just suits her character so well, because it's like the limit of what she wants to be is going to be based on her own imagination. And I just imagine, like, it can sort of, I know that this is silly, but like how the Barbie movies, like, this Barbie's a mermaid, this Barbie is Supreme Court Justice, This Barbie's a fairy.
This Neo's a fairy.
Exactly.
This Neo's a drug smuggler.
This Neo's a
an
furry.
assassin.
Like, I just feel
A
like it's like
furry?
you can imagine she could be the Mad Hatter, she could be a queen, she could be a mermaid and like live in the ocean,
Sure.
she could be a fairy. Like, she can decide
She
pretty
could finally
much.
be one of the giant crab creatures that I want there to
Oh my
be in
God.
the ever after.
And, okay, so this was what Arnold said. I personally don't see this happening, but this is what he said. Wouldn't it be cool if, like, they're fighting Cinder, and at the 11th hour, Neo shows up again because she's already cycled through so many different lives that she decides, oh, like,
I
well,
wanna
I want
kill
to try to be a
Cinder.
huntress.
Sure.
No, to be a huntress, right?
Okay.
Because that is something, I will say, credence to what Arnold is saying, that is something that they mention in Roman Holiday, is you could be anything you want, Neo, even a huntress, right? Roman says that to her. And so I think it would be funny if, like, later, way later down the line, right? Because I do think there are interesting implications if that's what she chooses now, and she does pop back up in the vacuum arc, like, hey, everyone, I'm a huntress now. I changed. And it's like, well, we all still remember what you did. Like, even if you had a change of heart, what about us? And, like, navigating those situations, I
that'd be
find that very
interesting.
compelling for a fanfic scenario. But to give credence to what Arnold is saying, yeah, like, I did the fairy thing and the mermaid thing and the dictator thing and the evil queen thing and the good queen thing. And, like, eventually I just decided, why not try to be a huntress? But there's nothing to fight here. You can only be a huntress if there are Grimm. So I went back to Remnant through right?
Sure.
And so I could see that also being, like, potential way down the line. Like, when we all think we're fucked, we see Neo again, and she's different. Like, not that her appearance is different, because when we see Herb, and this is the argument I'm gonna make against, like, heavily redesigning Neo, or giving Neo a voice, or any of that bullshit, right? It's that, like, when we see Herb, he looks exactly the same. Like, he has legs, but, like, fundamentally,
He looks fairly similar.
pretty the same. So I think that,
It
like,
would be funny if they took away Neo's leg and she's just a worm person.
it would be clear that it's Neo. She just has some sort of redesign where she looks more like a huntress. And you understand that the implication is that she ascended so many times in the ever after that she got a bunch of new purposes. She did a bunch of the shit that she wanted and she got bored. Right? So I see that too, but I do like it if it's more open-ended. Because personally, for me, like, I'm like, I can see, like, the Ever After sequel, right? Like, to
Yes.
Roman Holiday with
Yes.
clone Roman. I know that he's not real, and I don't know if that's great for, like, Neo coping or whatever, but, like, I don't, they can eat, they can grow, they can breathe. I know he's not real, but I kind of don't care. We all know what she was doing up to
Oh,
episode
God.
8. E.C. Meyer's Roman Holiday sequel in the Ever After, making a fan fiction where she does choose to be a huntress and go back to Remnant, and we have to navigate all the
Sure.
awkward social situations, and then she gets with Fox. Like, there are so many things you could do, and that's why I really like this ending, and I think that it would be very thematic. I think it would be good, and it would stop me from crying. So I think altogether, this is the ending we have to hope to happen. Like, this is what we have to hope for. And I'm so sure that I'm correct. And that's it.
That we made a whole video about
Yeah.
it that you're
Anything else,
watching
Hunter?
now. No.
Do you think this is likely?
I think the open-ended.
Because if you have to, if she dies, she
I
has
think-
to ascend, basically,
yes,
right?
I think
Unless the actual
I think
Jabberwocker
the
gets her.
open-ended, we see her as a tree, we don't know what happens to her ending is likely. I don't know if she goes back to Remnant, like defeats Cinder at the 11th hour and goes and has several babies with Fox. I don't know if that happens.
Yeah.
But that first part is totally believable.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that other part was like, I think Arnold was trying
That
to
was-
help me believe. I don't think so, but, like, we can dream. Like, what's the problem, right? So, yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys had fun. I really hope this is the case, because I'm already so invested in this idea being real. Like, I already have ideas for the ideas. You know what I mean? So I hope that this is the answer. I hope that after it happens, we all draw, like, what we think Neo turned into. Because I would like to draw, like, Barbie of Fairytopia, like, Fairytopia Neo. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys had fun, and we'll see you later. Bye!
Bye!